The South China Sea shimmers beneath a blistering tropical sun. Cargo ships creep along contested trade lanes, while sleek gray hulls, Chinese and American, glide in tense, silent patrol. Both navies know a single miscalculation could light the powder keg of the Indo-Pacific. Yet, right now, in the thin blue air above those waves, a different showdown is quietly taking shape. One that could decide who owns the sky if tensions ever explode into open combat. Because on a windswept runway in Oregon, the F-15EX Eagle II, a fighter many analysts dismissed as outdated the moment it was announced, has just taken off on another weapons qualification flight. Its twin engines howl like a hurricane as the jet knifes into the stratosphere, banking hard toward the Pacific. Beneath its wings, more missiles than any U.S. fighter has ever carried into the sky at once. And locked in its computers, a flight plan that will rewrite everything we thought we knew about fourth-generation airframes in a fifth-generation world. Can a design born in the 1970s truly change 21st century air warfare? Hold that question. Before we answer it, we have to rewind the tape to a moment the U.S. Air Force would rather forget. By late 2023, America's once proud air superiority fleet was, bluntly, exhausted. The F-22 Raptor program, originally supposed to deliver 381 stealth fighters, had been frozen at just 187 tails more than a decade earlier. Budget knives had slashed the force, and the surviving jets were racking up flight hours faster than their maintainers could tear them down for depot overhaul. Meanwhile, the F-35 was slipping behind schedule. Software bugs, engine bottlenecks, cost overruns. That left frontline squadrons clinging to F-15CD Eagles built when MTV still played music videos. Their skin showed spiderweb cracks where metal fatigue had set in. Their spar caps were literally peeling away in high G turns. Pilots joked the airframes were one hard pull from early retirement, but no one laughed when inspections started grounding jets en masse. In Pacific Air Forces alone, sortie generation plummeted almost 20% in just 2 years. All of this was happening as Beijing pushed its own next-gen answer, stealthy J-20 Mighty Dragons, from prototype to serial production. Every month or two, a new Dragon rolled off the line, complete with homegrown S-15 engines, giving it the legs to roam far over the Philippine Sea. Suddenly, the U.S. faced a numbers gap. Too few Raptors to cover the theater, too many F-35s still in software limbo, and far too many aging Eagles shedding aluminum over the Nevada test range. Something had to give, and it had to give fast. In most defense fairy tales, solutions arrive wrapped in cutting-edge stealth geometry, or bleeding-edge AI. This story is messier and, frankly, more interesting. It starts with a Saudi export deal. Back in 2010, Boeing began building the F-15SA for Riyadh, a souped-up variant with digital fly-by-wire, all-glass cockpit, and a robust AESA radar. The upgrades were so potent that Doha and Seoul soon ordered near-identical F-15QA and F-15K Slam Eagles. Watching from the States, Air Force planners noticed an inconvenient truth. Those export Eagles were newer, tougher, and more lethal than anything flying under U.S. markings. So in 2018, a quick look study crunched the economics. Refurbishing ancient F-15Cs would be pricey and time-consuming. Buying additional F-35s would solve stealth, not capacity, because the Lightning's single internal gun and limited missile bays made it an unlikely missile truck. The study's blunt verdict: spin the export Eagle upgrades into a U.S. model, crank production to keep the St. Louis line alive, and backfill lost fighter capacity before the Pacific boiled over. Thus, the F-15EX was born. An eagle in silhouette, a new beast underneath. Let's break down what rolled out of Hangar 71. Airframe life. The Eagle II's bones are built for 20,000 flight hours, more than double the fatigue limit of the F-15C it replaces. That means a jet ordered today could still be airborne when Gen Z pilots are retiring. Engines: 2G EF-110-129. Power plants push a combined 58,000 pounds of thrust. Even lugging a belly full of fuel and weapons, the Eagle II still screams past Mach 2.5 and holds it. At military power, no afterburner. It cruises faster than an F-35 can sprint. Range: with conformal fuel tanks hugging the fuselage, combat radius stretches beyond 760 nautical miles. That matters in the Pacific. where island airstrips can be 600 miles apart. Fly-by-wire, earlier Eagles steered by cables and pushrods. The EX is digital. Computers smooth out buffets, manage heavy asymmetric loads, and slash pilot workload so a crew can babysit dozens of missiles without fighting the jet itself. Yet raw numbers are only the pre-flight briefing. The real revolution hides under the wings. Picture an F-35 rolling off the tanker. Its bays might hold 4 AIM 120 AMRAAMs if stealth is priority number 1. That's respectable. But it's 4 shots in a sky that could swarm with dozens of targets. The Eagle II, by contrast, can lug 22 missiles using amber quad racks on its cheek stations and belly. In testing, Boeing loaded 13.6 tons of mixed ordnance, AMRAAMs, sidewinders, and 2 22-foot AGM-183 AARRW hypersonic boosters, each capable of Mach 5 plus sprint to 1,000 miles. In one flight shot, the jet carried more long-range firepower than an entire Cold War fighter squadron. That's why Pacific Air Forces reframes the EX not as a front-row brawler, but a weapons caddy. Stealth F-35s and F-22s sneak in, track hostile fighters, then pass targeting data via secure data link. The Eagle II hangs 100 miles behind the forward line, fingers poised over 20-plus missiles, ready to flood the battle space the instant a Dragon pops on sensors. One trigger squeeze from an X could erase half a Chinese fighter sweep before J-20 pilots even know they've been painted. Of course, a missile truck is useless if it can't see what to shoot. The Eagle II's sensor suite fixes that. APG-82, AESA radar. Hundreds of transmit-receive modules sweep the sky, hopping frequencies every microsecond to shrug off jamming. Where older mechanically scanned arrays updated tracks once every few seconds, the APG-82 revisits targets fast enough to spot stealth jets on the edges of detectability, especially when they maneuver. Legion Pod, IRST, infrared search and track, hunts for the friction heat of air molecules sliding over a stealth airframe. The pod's long-wave sensor never emits, so adversaries can't tell they've been clocked. EPAWSS, the Eagle passive-active warning and survivability system, sniffs for threat radars, creates digital jamming replicas to blind them, and, if all else fails, launches towed decoys to draw enemy missiles off course. It's the same tech spiral planned for next-gen air dominance. Bolted onto yesterday's shape. Open mission systems. Think USB-C for fighters. New pods, processors, and software can be plugged in without rewriting millions of lines of 1980s code. One Air Force test squadron integrated an AI route optimizer in 3 weeks, something that took years on legacy jets. The kicker? The EX is 2-seat by default. That frees the backseater, officially WSO, unofficially Swarm Overlord, to direct loyal wingman drones or manage hypersonic shots while the pilot keeps eyes outside. No other US fighter offers that brain trust combo today. In the Pentagon, every dream sheet collides with 2 brutalists: time and money. First flight, Tail X-1 went airborne on February 2nd, 2021. By mid-2025, the 9th jet, AX-9, left final assembly and joined the 142nd Fighter Wing in Oregon for operational test. Quantities. Congress authorized 104 jets through fiscal year 2025, down from the Air Force's initial request for 144. The cut saved approximately $1.5 billion, but still funds 8 squadrons, enough to fully swap out decrepit F-15Cs in the Guard and cushion Pacific deployments. Cost, unit price, airframe, spares, training, tech data, settled around $93 million, barely half the current F-35A flyaway tag when you factor in sustainment. Critics hate that a non-stealth jet crosses 9 figures. Supporters counter that affordable mass is priceless if a war kicks off in 3 years, not 10. Software spiral. Flight test uncovered sneaky bugs in the fly-by-wire laws. Minor bobbles at high alpha under heavy centerline stores. Boeing patched them with 2 quick rewrites. Compare that to the F-35 Block 4 upgrade, which chewed up years and billions just to field incremental features. Bottom line, schedule performance is steady, and the Eagle line employs thousands in Missouri who lobby like their mortgages depend on it, because they do. Any politician trying to cancel EX buys inherits a jobs bloodbath in an election season. Translation: Those 104 jets are as close to a sure thing as defense spending gets. Numbers and tech specs feel abstract until you picture them in action. So let's wargame a single day in 2028. A tropical dawn spreads over Kadena Air Base, Okinawa. Satellite feeds show a Chinese carrier group slipping through the Bashi Channel, launching J-15 deck fighters and J-20 escorts on a routine patrol that happens to skirt Japanese airspace. 2 forward-deployed F-35s pick up the formation's faint radar glints and whisper coordinates back to Kadena. Minutes later, 4 Eagle-Disc thunder off the runway, call sign Stinger. Each hauls 10 AMRAAMs, 2 Sidewinders, and a pair of AGM-158C LRASM standoff anti-ship missiles. They refuel once off the tanker, then hold at high altitude south of Taiwan's coast. Radars silent, letting the F-35s feed them everything. Inside Stinger 21, the WSO watches tracks blossom across his 3-foot panoramic display. He tags the nearest J-20 section and cues missile pre-launch. The pilot squeezes the trigger twice. 8 gray darts drop off rails, ignite, and vanish towards specs 90 miles away. Chinese pilots receive no launch warning. The AMRAAM's data link stays silent until the last seconds. They only realize doom when the F-35s paint them with a momentary splash to update terminal guidance. 2 Dragons scatter, and light burners both register kills in seconds. Now the air picture flips. Remaining J-20 crank away, but the Hot Eagle IIs are still packed with ordnance and unburned fuel. Instead of exiting, Stinger swings wide to target the carrier strike group. Without stealth shaping, the EX will definitely be seen by shipboard radars, so they stay above the deck, just inside LRASM range, and ripple-fire 8 sea skimmers. The missiles drop to wave-top height, weaving through maritime clutter, while Eagles bug out under cover of standoff jamming. Even if just one missile slips through, a 2,000-pound penetrator slamming the Liaoning's flight deck could neutralize air ops for months. All from a legacy fighter Beijing dismissed as ancient history. Hardware alone rarely wins wars. But psychology? That travels faster than hypersonic gas. Every time an Eagle II tour deploys to Kadena, Chinese web forums light up with fresh speculation. How many missiles can it haul today? Which pod is that on Station 3? Why do the Americans keep flying an obsolete airframe instead of Raptors? The ambiguity is the message. Beijing's planners must budget defenses not just against a small stealth vanguard, but against a raft of high-capacity Eagles that can flood any flashpoint with metal in minutes. And let's not forget allies. Japan, Australia, Singapore. All operate advanced Eagles or Super Hornets with similar open architecture. The EX's rapid upgrade roadmap signals that the US intends to keep large-format fighters relevant well into the 2030s. That assurance bolsters coalition planning because partners know their own 4th-gen fleets can integrate seamlessly instead of aging into irrelevance. So back to our opener. Can a revamped 50-year-old jet truly alter the Pacific balance? Maybe the better question is, what happens to Chinese risk calculus when every American sortie packs twice the missiles it carried last year? Deterrence is a game of arithmetic. Raise the cost of aggression until the math no longer works for your rival. Stealth helps, but volume, sheer, immediate, bone-breaking volume, turns spreadsheets red instantaneously. That is the Eagle II's gift to US strategy. It buys time. Time for next-gen air dominance to mature. Time for the F-35 fleet to hammer out software quirks. Time for drone swarms to grow teeth. It covers the dangerous middle years when new tech is late and old tech is tired. Critics will still grumble. No stealth means high vulnerability. Radars in Fusion will see an EX coming 100 miles out. SAM batteries are deadlier than ever. All true, but also partly irrelevant. The EX was never meant to slip past defenses alone. It was meant to stand behind the stealth vanguard, to act as loud, lethal artillery in the sky. In an age of networked targeting, hiding isn't the only path to survival. Sometimes the winning move is to show up so heavily armed that no one wants to call your bluff. Which brings us full circle to that first climb over the Pacific. Engines shattering the pre-dawn hush. Somewhere beyond the horizon, a J-20 pilot scans his threat display, wondering if tonight is the night an invisible adversary cues an AMRAAM down his throat. He can't be sure because he can't see the stealth jets. But he knows, because every Chinese strategist knows, that lurking just outside his radar bubble might be a 1970s silhouette bristling with 20-plus missiles, waiting for a 2-word code over data link, play ball. If that single image forces Beijing to think twice, then the Eagle 2 has already tipped the Pacific balance, and it hasn't fired a shot in anger. So, what do you think? Did the Pentagon pull off a masterstroke by resurrecting a legend? Or is the Eagle 2 a costly holdover, delaying the inevitable dawn of drones and next-gen stealth? Sound off in the comments, and stay tuned, because in our next video, we're diving deep into China's own plan to counter the EX with upgraded J-11D flanker squadrons. Until then, fly safe and keep your head on a swivel.